Hello, 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 my beautiful people. Welcome to another video. As you guys know, politics is getting hot and heavy as we get closer to the days of the election with Kamala Harris and the big Donald Trump. I wanted to review this video with, I think it's Vivek and also Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, really big out here in Dallas, Texas, billionaire, and wanted to review his thoughts on the election. So let's get straight to the video. Come and join me.
But you want to change the channel? We didn't actually even get to politics, but we got to do at least a little bit. All right.
Sure.
Yeah, at least a little bit. And this is too much fun. Yeah, just give me 1 second to make sure I'm good here too, because this is actually fun. Let's see here. Oh man. Okay. I've got to go. I got 10 minutes, but we have to continue this. We have to continue this. All right. I'm having fun with this. So, because you don't. This is the thing I miss actually in the country. You don't get people talking across the silos anymore. Not in an earnest way, in a way that's public, in a way that actually tells people it's okay to be friends with somebody who you deeply disagree with. I think we need more of that.
But I've convinced you to change your position, right?
No, you have not. But you've convinced me. You have convinced me. But you have. But you've convinced me that we actually share more premises in common than I thought. Right?
Yeah, I'm a capitalist.
Exactly. We could start there. We have that in common no matter what.
I'm just a little bit more compassionate than some others.
But. Yeah, but you know, I think that.
But anyways, let's get to politics.
Yeah, let's get to politics. The only thing is, assume the best when you can of somebody who you disagree with too, because it may be a compassion for a different thing. And
no, I understand.
Assume the best is all I'd ask, even to some of the folks you're talking about. Politics here. All right. So here's what I find funny. Okay, for years. And you consider yourself voting Democrat in recent years, or you're Democrat?
No, I'm independent. I'm independent. Okay. And honestly, if there was a non-MAGA, when Biden was the candidate, if there was a non-MAGA Republican candidate, I probably would have voted for that person.
So, and it just maybe to you depends on, I would like to convince you on this another day. It depends on how you define.
So that was a little slick shot to Donald Trump. Just to give y'all some background on Mark Cuban and Donald Trump. From what I know, Mark Cuban actually sent a slick shot on Twitter to Donald Trump. He was pretty much saying, this is me pretty much paraphrasing here. He was pretty much saying, like, at least I pay my taxes, unlike somebody. And that kind of gave you the notion that, oh, he don't really like Trump. He's probably a Democrat, stuff like that. In the beginning of this video here, they wasn't talking about politics. They got to talking about politics now. You kind of see that, oh, wait, Mark Cuban's really more of a capitalist, more of an independent thinker. He just has some ways where he's just more left-leaning or democratic in that sense.
Fine, MAGA, right? Making America great. I don't think you object to that. In fact, I think you believe some of the things.
Well, that's a presumption. That's a presumption that it wasn't great before. I'm an American exceptionalist.
I'm an American exceptionalist too. I think we need to make America greater than it has ever been. That's actually should be the goal.
Well, that's not what they said, right?
Make America greater than it has ever been.
Not what they say.
So here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing on the politics of this, because I know you're on the other side of this. You're supporting Kamala Harris for president, right?
Correct.
Okay. I'm supporting Donald Trump for president. But here's an interesting, before we get into the side tizzy that'll send political discussion into. For years, right? For years, the concern of many earnest Democrats in this country was that the Republican Party was oppressive on issues like abortion, was thoughtless on issues like gun control, believed in leaving the working class behind, was intervening in foreign wars in places like Iraq that expended our taxpayer money and left the country worse off. That was the real concern that people had, is the Republican Party was
for Democrats, yeah.
Yeah. They were ideologues, right? The Republican Party were ideologues on guns, abortion, foreign wars, and leaving the working class behind.
And again, I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent.
No, I know you're not. Fair enough. Well, now I know that. Now you mentioned that, right? But we can have the discussion either way. So it's not necessarily addressed at you, but we're talking about this.
That's fine. No, I understand.
So now you get a candidate, and here's the thing that most people don't realize, who's actually not an ideologue, certainly on historical Republican terms at all. Not an ideologue at all in any sense, actually, who on abortion is against a federal ban on abortion, is a little bit more pragmatic, you could say, is in certain other issues. On gun control is softer than some Second Amendment advocates, even myself in many cases would advocate for. You have a foreign policy that is against fighting pointless foreign wars or intervention, a Republican who's publicly against that old Iraq war. And yet now the criticism of that candidate is that, oh, he's not principled enough. Right. So from the Democrats.
Well, yeah, but let's talk about that. No. You're
Right.
mixing.
And just to jump on that point, what Vivek is saying, that is true, man. Donald Trump, he is not your typical Republican that would be running for president. Usually your Republicans are like extreme right, extreme, like just extreme laws, extreme, rules and regulations that they follow behind by on the right or Republican side. But, Donald Trump is actually more lenient with a lot of things. The thing about Donald Trump that I feel like he gets so much hate from either the other side or even just a lot of people, he really stand on what he believes in. In this world today, I feel like everybody's a lot softer, just a lot easier to be offended by a lot of things. So when you got Donald Trump really just standing, just upholding what it is to be masculine, standing firm on the things that you believe in, on your laws, your rules, your regulations, actually fulfilling the things that you actually, say you're going to do. Like a lot of people don't like that these days. They're a lot really soft pressed these days. Also think about the things that he may say that is very offensive, right? He rarely apologizes for that. See, people want people to give an apology for saying, oh, I hurt this certain community or I hurt this certain community. Donald Trump's not going to do that. If he said it, he stand on it, and he's not going to give you a fake apology. And that's what I feel like a lot of people hate. And that's why they give the notion, this is the important part, what I'm saying right here. They give the notion, oh, Donald Trump is like a far right extremist, which he's actually not if you really pay attention to his rules and regulations, which Vivek explained here.
See, the principle that people are talking about is ethics. The man told Mike Pence not to certify the election. The man called the Secretary of State, or was it governor? I forget, and asked for 11,072 votes. The man has stolen from more hardworking Americans.
You were against Trump in 2016, though. You were against Trump in 2016.
Right, but he was unethical then, and he's still unethical.
And in 20, right?
That's right, but that's the whole point. I actually started off supporting Donald, and then I got to know him better.
When did you support him?
Like 2015, I was like, he's great. He's he's not a typical Stepford candidate. I thought that was a positive.
I would think that's a positive, right? A business guy who's pretty practical.
But then I got to know
not
him.
Ideological.
A big part of that is I didn't think he had a chance, and so I just wanted to kind of screw things up in traditional politics that I'm not a fan of.
Okay,
but the bigger
supportive. Okay, that's kind of funny.
Right. But the bigger point is Trump University, Trump Soho, stole $4 million from a friend of mine that had sued to get it back. Mike Pence, 40 out of 44 people.
Just take a look at the 4 years, because each of these are just going to be separate sort of personal attack rabbit holes. Look at the country in those 4 years.
No, they're not personal attack rabbit holes. They're legitimate things that actually happen.
So do you think the country...
So those are really personal attack rabbit holes if you're really thinking about it. I can kind of see where he's coming from, but it just doesn't make sense to me because we've had Donald Trump for a 4-year term. Whether they had some personal issues or not, whether it was business or anything else, I mean, you've seen Donald Trump do his work for those 4 years, and he did pretty well in those 4-year span, despite what other people would be saying. And they definitely really see the benefits that he gave now that we're in this economic crash, right? That does sound personal. It does sound like there's like this issue where, oh, there was some business falls out with some of my friends. I don't like how he treated them, or I don't like what happened. And I really have an issue with Donald Trump's ethics. I can see where he's coming from on the other side of that. It's like if you have bad ethics here in the business world, how would you not have bad ethics as the president? And I just personally think that it could be a personal rabbit hole you're going through just because we've seen Donald Trump actually do his work for those 4 years that he was president. So, had we not known, it'd be like, had this not happened, would Mark Cuban still be going for Trump? So it just seems personal to me.
Do you think the economy prospered and border crossing issues were far better under Donald Trump under those 4 years than they've been in the last 4 years? You disagree on that premise too.
Wow.
No, because if you look at border crossing, what was Obama's nickname? The deporter in chief. Mm-hmm. If you look at actual crossings, they were lower under Obama. And when Obama came in, they were higher, and he continued to lower them until the last couple months. On the economy, Obama took a fucked up economy and improved it, and Trump inherited that, right? And actually inflation grew by 25% under Trump over Obama. And what was the third one?
You get border and economies where I was started talking about.
Right.
So we hit the all-time low on border crossings in about 2019, 2020. Okay.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure?
It's actually the chart that Trump was turning to when he got shot, right? That was exactly
right, but that doesn't make it right.
It went up in the first 2 years, but then they only implemented the Trump controls about a year and a half to 2 years.
Let's just put that off to the side, and we'll check that to make sure that border crossings weren't lower under him.
Remember, the lowest point was lower than it's ever been. The lowest, I'm not saying the average, but the lowest points was lowest than it's ever been. Yeah.
Okay, we'll check. But Obama deported a multiple of the number of illegals that Trump deported.
Which you're in favor of, by the way? Are you in favor of deportation?
I don't have a problem if they're here illegally. Just do it compassionately. Don't just stick them in a cage. But I have no problem with removing people who are here illegal, particularly recent. Because who knows the number, 10 million, 11 million, whatever it is. But you can't just all of a sudden, how you approach it is critical. And Trump has not said a word about it yet. Well, and he's been talking about it forever. But again, that's not the core issue.
That's a good point. I just wanted to expound on that, even though that's not his core issue with him. We are having a big issue with the wall, our borders right now, over, what's recorded is actually 8.4 million. That's what's actually recorded. This 11 million or 15 million that people are getting, they're just giving those estimates just because I guess 8.4 million is the actual people that they've caught or whatever. I'm not sure, but that's what the statistics you'll actually find once you look that up or do your research online, Google, ChatGPT, or other sites, right? It's going to say 8.4 million, 8.7 million, somewhere around that regard. There is conversations or a lot of banter that Trump gives of what he's going to do about the wall, but how is he going to do it? Like, how much pressure? Where is he going to put them? Or is he going to take people away from their families and stuff like that? Will there be an issue where people won't be able to see one another again? Because, even though there are a lot of illegals that are doing crime and doing things that you're not supposed to do, like murdering, stealing, planting drugs and children and stuff like that, like the border is horrible. There are good people that are crossing the border just because, think about it, guys, America is one of the best places that you can be in as far as opportunity, getting more money, capital gain, all that. Like, there's so much opportunity here. That's why a lot of people will send their kids here to go to school. A lot of people will come here to start a business, just all those things. Like, they take advantage of the credit system. They take advantage of bank loans, all these things that you can take advantage of here in America. A lot of people in these other countries see that dream and they're like, I want to go get it too. And they've seen other people. They got friends or family that's came here illegal, that's still illegally here, but they started businesses and are flourishing a lot better than they were in their own country. And they try to take that opportunity. They're good people trying to make it happen, but they're doing it the illegal way. The issue with that, there are people who come over here. There are immigrants that come over here that do it the right way. They pay their dues. They go get in the system and they making sure they're paying their taxes and stuff like that. It's not fair to them. Also, we just have to include those good people that are coming over the border, not, doing it correctly. How will they be shipped back? They are still human at the end of the day. They made a mistake. I'm wondering how Trump will enact that too. So that's a really good question.
You want to talk about
lives. That is a core issue. That crime and economy.
I get that, but you know what? The one certainty about the office of the President of the United States is the complete uncertainty, that you have no idea what comes next. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, and so in my mind, and I think a lot of people's minds that oppose Donald Trump, is that you want somebody there that is educated on the world, but more importantly, just is ethical, right? So that they make ethical decisions. You want somebody when there is no precedent, it's never happened before. You want somebody that has hired not people who are most loyal, like Tony Soprano might have done, but hired the very best people. And those people want to stay and work for them, not that they're loyal. You want somebody whose first inclination is not to do what's in their own best personal interest.
So
right?
Can I just say,
you can't deny that's Donald Trump.
I'm reluctant to get into, because I'm not a particularly partisan hack type Republican versus Democrat person.
This has nothing to do with partisan.
And so I'm also very critical of the Republican Party. So I'm reluctant to say what I'm about to say. But you know, like when you think about this, right? You look at someone like Biden over the 4 years. I know it's Kamala Harris, the nominee now, but what is your attitude towards the fact that you talk about self-interest? Nothing bothers me more than politicians looking after their self-interest when they're in office. What is your perspective on, while Joe Biden's the vice president of the United States, his son serving without a qualification or an iota of a qualification?
The documentary that we're about to watch explores the hot button issue.
On the board of a Ukrainian state-affiliated energy company.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous, right? It was a mistake. Yeah, but his son was an adult in his 40s, right? As a parent I can't control my teenagers. You're not going to control an adult.
But there's good evidence that he's not looking the other way.
And he's going to jail. And that kid is going to jail. And on top of that,
felony gun possession charge.
No, I get that. But on top of that, you had Comer and others who tried to impeach Biden and did a complete investigation of it, and who came to the conclusion that there was no there in terms of the big guy, right? So, but let's just say
the issue with it, and I'm just trying to be unbiased to everyone. The issue with the Biden and his son situation, you absolutely right, Mark Cuban. Like, you cannot control your grown ass children. Like, you can't control them. Like, they grown, they're gonna do what they want to do, right? But you gotta factor in, how did you raise them? How you raised them falls upon you. But let's disregard that, right? Let's stick to politics, because we can't hold that over Biden's head, which you're saying, right? What you can hold over Biden's head is that he swept it under the rug. And you can't hold it over his head as a father, because most fathers do that for their son. They would sweep it under the rug for their son, right? You know, some wouldn't, in order for their son to learn a lesson, but some will like, no, like, I'm not gonna let my son go to prison or go to jail over this. The problem is Biden is the president of the United States. So if you're trying to sweep your son doing crime under the rug, it really, really, really looks bad on you as the president. Even though that's your son and it's your son's fault, majority, you sweeping it under the rug makes it no better. And it seems like you're just advocating for your son's bullshit. That's the big issue with what Biden's son was doing and what Biden did to cover for his son. That's the big issue there.
It was completely investigated. And we haven't even gotten into the Mueller report, right? And what they came out with.
Yeah, but the Mueller report, that's actually a great point to talk about, because that impeded the first 2 years of his presidency on the basis of allegations.
That's not the issues. Yeah, but you're talking about policies.
The heart of this.
Look,
I am concerned about policies. I'm deeply concerned. I have to admit.
No, I'm not unconcerned. I'm not unconcerned about policies, right? But it's just like a CEO of a company. Would you hire somebody that has a long history of stealing from people, of being unethical? You would not, and you know it.
Is Donald Trump a perfect person? No, he is not. Am I a perfect person?
Talking about minimal imperfection.
Are you a perfect person?
No,
You're not.
No,
but we're not talking about
who's
the actual best
have
president.
You ever stolen money?
I've never stolen money from anybody. No.
Either have I.
I ain't gonna lie, y'all. It just seemed personal to me. He keep bringing it back to ethics, what Trump did in the past, stealing from one of his business partners or friends or something like that. It just keeps going back to that, it seems like to me.
And have you ever had a company?
I have no evidence to say that Donald Trump has either.
Oh, I do for sure. Ask Barbara Corcoran, right? She had to sue to get her money back. Ask anybody from Trump University. Ask people who bought condos in Trump Soho. Ask people from, Trump Foundation that gave money there. Ask people who are giving money today, and he's using that money for his legal fees. So, this isn't like a little discretion. This is a habit.
Mark,
that's why I can't support him.
Yeah. So look, I think that's less about politics and more about maybe like a criticism of one man. But
but that's the whole point.
So look,
you were talking about ethics.
There, really.
You would not. Have you ever told any of your employees to short pay a vendor just to try to save some money? Either have I. Right? What do you think about somebody who does that? You know what was crazy to me during the trial?
I think a lot of what's happened is, because you saw this in the New York trial. I don't know what your perspective is on the New York trial or how closely you followed that.
I did.
I think that trial is fundamentally unjust against Donald Trump. Right? Do you agree with that?
Let's just say it is.
Do you agree with that?
I don't. No, not necessarily. Because
I think if you're in the position where if you say a prosecutor comes for you, right? Because you're a business guy, you can empathize with this, right? If you're running a company,
I've had the SEC come after me, so I get it.
But let's say you have a lawyer's bill that comes in and you classify it as a legal expense. All right, but part of this was you were paying off hush money to Stormy Daniels, and the government's theory of the case is no, you should have classified that as a campaign expenditure. Think about this. If you had to classify that as a campaign expenditure, had he said that's a campaign expense, so he uses the campaign account to be able to pay hush money to Stormy Daniels, they should be and would be coming after him for that, right? Because you shouldn't use political campaign.
But that's what he did. He
didn't use the campaign money. He used the whole government's whole theory is he should have been using the campaign money. He used personal money for it. So my point is, in a lot of these cases, they were going to get him either way, right?
Okay, so first of all, Hillary Clinton did
and I just worry a lot of this has created distortion. My guy here is giving us like signs. I'm going to this magazine interview. This is fun. If you're down for doing this again and continuing, I would love it. Hey, do you know, this is random. Do you know Reid Hoffman or not? Not really.
Barely, a couple emails.
I actually was interested in getting, because he also seems like a guy who, more than you. I mean, I would really disagree with him, but he also seems like a smart guy, and he's come up a couple of times recently. So
he's a smart guy.
If you happen to know, because I've never had any connection with him, I disagree with him on a lot of things, but some of his advice for Kamala Harris I thought was pretty interesting. I mean, if his advice to her, as I was reading publicly, because I was fascinated by this, is fire Lena Khan and distance yourself from what he calls the Trump-Biden tariffs. Mm-hmm. I just thought it caught my attention.
So let me ask you a question, just a hypothetical, real quick in closing.
Actually. So I want to talk to, if you want, me and him want to have a discussion.
I'll connect him.
If we don't do this, but just have him pop on the equivalent of this.
No, you two could talk. You guys, he's smart. You guys talk.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question. If, you've seen what's happened with the border crossings recently, right? Yeah. They've dropped dramatically. She said she would sign the bill that the Republicans put together, right? Inflation is declining rapidly. She won't have tariffs. Right. So effectively,
we don't know about the tariffs. Actually, I want to see what comes
No, I'm pretty sure she won't have tariffs. Right.
Depends on which kind of tariffs.
Anyways. So what I'm about to say is, if she checked all your policy boxes, would you vote for her over Trump?
Well, she doesn't check. I mean, she's dead set.
I'm just saying, because she hasn't come out. It's only been 2 weeks.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this.
It's a hypothetical.
I'm going to vote for the candidate who I believe has the best policies for the United States of America and who has some basis to carry them out. In my mind, that's exactly why I'm voting for Trump. That's exactly why I'm voting for Trump.
I mean, again,
so if somebody and Trump and I don't agree on 100% of policies. I mean, I ran for president last year, for God's sake, right? And there's some areas where he and I have had open discussions where we have slightly different views, and that's great.
But again, let's just say that list of policies you have in your mind.
I will vote for the candidate who I believe is committed to enacting the policies I agree with for the United States. Committed to enacting is what I will say. But the candidate who I believe is most committed to enacting the policies that I care about. And what's number one on the list for me is dismantling bureaucracy. Dismantling bureaucracy is
so. Who do I think is more likely?
If Kamala Harris comes out and says that she's going to fire 75% of federal bureaucrats and shut down excess agencies,
but you can't do that.
She'd have my attention. She'd have my attention.
You can't do that. You can't do that.
You and I can disagree.
But what you can do is use technology to make the government a lot more efficient.
Sure,
so
add that in there too, to replace a lot of the excess
government
bureaucracy.
declines in size while improving the amount of impact it has for the people who need it most. They're not mutually exclusive, right? But you can't, there's no legal basis to fire 75% of any department, and you can't just throw all that.
Mass firings are absolutely in.
I want to get on that just real quick. You know, he asked him a good question is, you know, if Kamala Harris had all the policies that you believed in, would you vote for her? Vivek had a great response. I want to vote for the person that not only has great policies, but I know that will fulfill those policies. That's the biggest thing about it. The Democratic Party has a very long history of saying they're going to do one thing, but ended up doing the other, or nothing at all for what they said they were going to do. For example, the Black community. And the Black community has been fooled for so many years now, 40, 50, 60 years, 70 years. They only vote for the Democratic Party because they feel like that's the quote unquote Black party. But a lot of them are not doing their research. They're not waking up to the truth that's right in front of them. The Democratic Party hasn't done anything for the Black community for a very long time, a very long time. In the time that they thought they were going to have a lot of great benefits in that Obama era, when he gave all those promises to do things for the Black community, but ended up giving it to the alphabet community and funding other things, it just goes to show enough is enough. It's time to wake up. And I believe Vivek is given a great point that I want to vote for the person that not only has great policy, because Kamala Harris, you look at her policies, and Vivek is conservative. He believes in family and, you know, being a person that goes to church. You have the ability to defend yourself. You have all your amendments and stuff like that, not being taken advantage of. That's conservative. Kamala Harris don't believe in that stuff. Look at the man she just got for the vice president. This man got tampons in a boys' restroom. He's supporting children to be transgenders. Like, that's way radical left. You understand what I'm saying? So that would never happen, even though it's a hypothetical that Mark Cuban is given. That would never happen. Kamala Harris would never give out those policies. She's just way on the other side. And also, it's just paying attention to what she does. What has she really done as a vice president? What have she done? She was supposed to be in charge of the border. Look at the border right now. It looked like she reads off teleprompters to give her answers. Look at the way she speaks. She don't really stand on what she says. She told when the riot happens at the college, I believe, or whatever, wherever that place was, gonna bash Israel. You know, we support Israel. And then a couple of days later, give support for Palestine. It's which side you're on. So I believe that Kamala Harris is just doing whatever she can just to get her votes. She got Mark Cuban either fooled, or this is just a personal vendetta, it seems like to me. But I think that's going to be the end of this video. Looks like they wrapping up anyway. But let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below. Do you think this is a personal vendetta that Mark Cuban has against Donald Trump? Is it a billionaire clash, right? Or does he have some, you know, legitimate views on Donald Trump? Is there some legitimacy there for him to be like, no, I should vote for Kamala Harris? Let me know what you think down in the comments. Much love. Peace. We gone.